and they go into, sort of, you've got to do it their way, otherwise it's not done properly, even though you might get the same result doing it a different way. All temperaments can also be good leaders, but each structures their team differently to achieve the same goals.
I'll just give you an example of choleric leadership. Our son, what is a choleric? We were in Washington, D.C., and we were trying to find the White House. You'd think it would be fairly easy to find the White House, but the four of us, there's two sons and myself, and Rob.
And me. She's just double personality. Split personality. The four of us.
We were walking around the streets of Washington, D.C. trying to find the White House, right? And my choleric son has the map. Nobody else is allowed to look at the map, I've got the map, and so off we go like, penguins in a line. Bretland leading.
Hang on, you got the microphone.
I've got the map. Anyway, so off he goes, and we're kind of going, could we look at the map? I know where to go, and I know how to find it. Oh, okay. So off he goes. He's about 20, and off he goes. And so anyway, we go around this block, and we start to go around back to where we started.
We went left, then we went left, and then we went left.
By that time, Rob and I were twigging there was something funny here, and we said, have you made the mistake, Bretland? And he goes, I didn't make a mistake. Cholerics never make mistakes, right? No. And so he said, I wasn't wrong. Cholerics are never wrong.
And his brother says, yes, you were wrong.
And we're all going, you were wrong, you were wrong, you were wrong. And he said,
No,
I wasn't. He said, I was right the second time.
That's when he turned right.
Oh, dear. Okay, recreation we're up to. Is that where you're up to?
Yes, we're up to that.
Okay.
They can have some recreation and colour in the pictures now.
Did Rob show you his coloured pictures? All melancholy and not going over the lines. Did you notice that? Oh.
All right, so the sanguine...
Excuse me, the sanguine
oh, sorry.
is there for the fun. She loves to be where people are enjoying themselves, lots of laughter and noise. If the game ceases to be fun, either because they're losing or because another temperament is pushing them around, the enjoyment is gone, and with an immature person, so will they. Now, one of our sons is more sanguine than the other, and they were playing Chinese checkers when they were little kids. And well, actually, we were all playing together as a family. And after a while, he said, "There's no more good moves. I'm not playing anymore." He got up and walked out. Right. Now, you can imagine with the choleric son, they used to have tension over this.
Just a little.
Because the other thing my sanguine son would do is change the rules. You'd be halfway through a game and he'd go, no, we don't do it that way anymore. We do it like this, so that he'd win. And my choleric son would be going, that's not the way you do it. This is the rules. Oh, wow. See, the choleric is there to win. The choleric doesn't see the fun in the game. They're there to win, and they get really focused. You see if you have a tournament, table tennis tournament or something, Whereas the sanguine will be having the life of the party and have fun if you shoot shots out, so that's part of the fun anyway.
Don't worry if you go over the lines.
No, you just have life's just a ball, but the choleric is that's frivolous. It's just we're here to play a game, and we are here for me to win. So this comes from a desire to be charged and in control. They enjoy active recreation, but something with a challenge and a little bit of risk. Something has to be happening all the time for our choleric brothers and sisters, or they become quickly bored.
The melancholy wants to strategise, so they can take their opponents by surprise. They can be tenacious opponents, but fair if they live up to their personality. Somebody recognising themselves.
Actually, it's really interesting because Rob every now and then he's brought out a game of Chinese checkers and said, let's just play checkers so that he can get to know people. That melancholy strategy. And particularly when he's trying to work with teenage kids, teenage boys or teenage girls who are just, and he's trying to form a relationship with them.
Don't tell anybody, will you?
No. And he'll go, he's so interesting. Those cholerics, they just charge across that board, you know. Nothing counts but getting to that goal. And, you know, the sanguines will relax and just have a bit of fun. And the phlegmatics have got this...
This strategy, they keep all their marbles together, sort of working like a phalanx, you know, so that nobody can jump over them, and sort of they work across, you know, they never win, but they get their marbles across the board together. Sort of, you know, cautious, security conscious, you know, and it comes out in every area of your life. It really does.
Yeah. The melancholy may prefer static recreation rather than rigorous activity. To a melancholy, research can be recreation. Look. Just being freed from time restraints is heaven to him.
Yes. So if you've got, you know, an open-ended, you know, a melancholy will go on working at a task, you know, perfecting it, editing it, you know, just shaving it and sharpening it all the time, because they really like perfection. That's the thing, and they sort of tend to go overboard. Even if it's perfect already, they'll still go through and find something else how they can improve on it and modify it.
Or say to people, even though they've put their absolute best into it, it's not really perfect.
Yeah.
It's not really good enough.
It's not, as you know, I just had to present it, you know, I didn't have enough time to finish it, what I really wanted to do.
Spent hours on it.
And even after that, you know, computers are a dream for a melancholy person, because they can note what they've done here and they take it home now and we'll just make a little alteration there and just improve it a little bit better. So next time I use these notes, I'll be able to improve.
The phlegmatic plays the games by the rules and doesn't mind who wins. The phlegmatic is calm in victory and unruffled in defeat. The game is what is important. Phlegmatics may prefer recreation that doesn't need a lot of effort. He involved himself in water skiing, but only as an observer. I remember once we played trivia, you know, Trivial Pursuit. And we had, it's a horrible memory, isn't it? It's a really horrible memory. We used to, we all, whatever church we've been in, we've always made a thing about inviting everybody around for tea, you know, and not all at once. But we sort of have couple, like I think we had 4 lots of people around this particular night. And one particular woman was a real choleric, and we were playing Trivial Pursuit and having a lot of fun with it. You know, it was just this and that, and you know, laughing and everything. It didn't really matter who
Making
won.
up words.
Yeah, and she was getting really annoyed, and she was sticking by the rules, and she forced her way, you know, to play that game exactly by the rules, and it took all the entertainment. Well, we were just trying to get to know people, you know, and do something that was a bit focused, so that, you know, the evening didn't deaden because nobody could talk to each other or something. We wanted to have something that would just help us to mix and get to know them.
It was a tool.
But she had to win. She had to win. And she forced her way through that game. And, you know, we've never played that jolly game since, you know, have we?
No.
10 years or something.
Bad memories every time I look at the box, you know.
Yeah, it's like, oh, no.
Not that game.
It just ruined it for everybody else, you know.
Everybody else in the group.
She won, but
whenever we
cost?
mentioned that particular night getting together, they said, oh. We didn't play that game anyway.
I was just going to give another example about. Well, have I got time or haven't I? That was pretty obvious body language, wasn't it? It's about the car. If you've read Florence Lidio's books or heard any of her tapes, she tells these hysterical stories about losing cars. And one particular time, she went to a shopping centre, one of those huge high-rise car parks. And when she came out with her shopping with all her bags, because Sanguines, you know, they love shopping, so she's got heaps of stuff, you know, she's got all this stuff, and she can't find her car. So she's got all these heavy bags and she's going up and down, up and down. She doesn't know what level she's left her car on at all. So this...
and to complicate it, she couldn't remember
Wait!
It's the punchline.
So this guy comes up to her and he said, "What's the matter, lady?" And she goes, "I can't find my car." And he goes, "Well, what car were you driving?" She goes, "Oh, I can't remember which one I took." It's obviously American, isn't it? You know, when we would all know what car we took, but anyway. So he says, "Well, can I help you?" He said, "If you find your car key, we can look at the key and I'll know which car it was." You know, he's a bit of a melancholy details. So she's got all her bags, so she gives them to this guy, for heaven's sake. And she goes through her bag. Well, do you know what a Sanguine's handbag is like? Have you got any idea? They put everything in their bag, everything. So she's pulling all this stuff out of the bag. And while she's doing it, this guy, who's obviously melancholy, she's entertaining him, because Sanguines feel the need to fill up all airspace with words, you know. And so she's going on and on about all this drivel, trying to keep his attention in case he goes away, you know. And so she's entertaining him all the time. And all he wants is this jolly car key, you know. So eventually she finds it and they find the car. And then he points out to him, he says, now, next time, you have a look at that up there, that G, 1G, that means that you're on this particular floor and you're in that particular section. She goes, oh, is that what they're there for? I thought it was something left by the painters. So one day, I was at this shopping centre where I hadn't been very many times, and I parked my car, and when I came out, I went up and down the road, and I couldn't find it. So the security guard saw me, so he came and he went up and down, he said, no, it's definitely not there, I can't see any Tirana, it was, there. He said, you better call the police. So I called the police. This is a terrible story. And so they came and they filled out this, theft form and everything. And then I called Rob, and he was in a meeting with pastors, and I was like, car's been stolen. So he came running. Not running, no, not rushing. Phlegmatics don't rush. He just calm and coolly came down to this car park, you see.
And I said to her, now, where did you park the car?
Oh, here. It was just in this row.
And so I looked all there. Obviously, it wasn't there. But then I thought, well, I'll just walk down a bit further and have a look. Sure enough.
Because he knows me. His security guard didn't know that I could be dilly enough to actually swear that I parked it in that section when I hadn't really. And the police had no idea that I could actually swear I parked it in that section and hadn't. But Rob just came and go, oh, Liz, right, she's parked it up somewhere else. That's obvious,
It was only about 50 or 60 feet up the...
So the policeman tears up his foot.
Yeah. Well, it was fun.
At least you're not as melancholy as Fred Florence Lidow's husband, because when they got married, she so many stories you can tell about the grapes. You know the one about the grapes? We won't tell the one about the grapes, but
Read the book.
But this other one, they were driving home one night, and she goes, oh, Fred, can we stop and have an ice cream? And he goes, right, so we can't have an ice cream. Listen, I wrote
She
out...
said, why can't we have an ice cream?
He said, well, I wrote out my program at 8 a.m. this morning. I wrote down all the things that we were going to do, and we do not have getting an ice cream on the way home list. And he said, if you want to get an ice cream, in future you will have to tell me at 8 a.m. and I will have to program it into my little list. And she's this spontaneous sanguine, Of course, when he programs into his list, he opens up his suit coat, and there in every suit he has his red biro, his blue biro, his green biro, and his black. That's it. Yes, and he's got little cards where he memorises things in this other pocket here. And okay.
All right. Now, some people might feel that we're actually putting you in boxes by saying this, but on the questionnaire, which we'll give you shortly. That's if I'm allowed. There are 179 words. And this actually is the most important part of this study.
Oh, wait a minute. What I said was the most important part of the study.
You might have thought it was. Now, this is the melancholy bit. Now, the reason that the choleric people won't fill this in is because they want to get on and do something more important. The reason that the sanguine won't fill it in is because it's not much fun. The reason that the phlegmatic won't fill it in is because it's too much effort. And the reason that melancholy won't fill it in is because
they sweat so much over which column to put it in and what number to put it in.
What number to put in the little box. So I don't expect that too many of you will fill it in. But I have faith in God, but I'm not sure about you lot. But the idea is that you score between 0 and 9. Now, the reason it's 0 and 9 and not 0 and 5 is because the first time we did it between 0 and 5. And my younger son, who is also a little melancholy, no, he's a big melancholy. But
bigger than you, kid.
And he said, Dad, if you increase the numbers, that will give more scope. Instead of having to write 4.5, if you feel that that's what you are, they can write a whole number. And so we enlarged it between 0 and 9. And so when you go through, don't be afraid to put 0s and 9s. Don't go for the middle road. Don't. Otherwise, you'll end up with a bleh sort of result. Okay, and try and score. But the thing about this is, as you go through, think about the words that you're actually looking at. so that you actually are really deciding, am I this? Do I really do that? You know, sort of, for instance, forgiving. Am I forgiving? You know, and sort of look at yourself and make sure that in several different circumstances you are forgiving. And so this is probably more important than actually ending up deciding what this will give you a result, because there's a little thing here where your weaknesses and your strengths will show, as if you want to see them.
Am I your weakness or your strength?
And the idea basically is to try and find out about yourself. And it doesn't really matter whether you end up being whatever, but it does matter, I believe, if you can find out about yourself and learn where your strengths and weaknesses really are. Because when you understand where your strengths and weaknesses are, you can work, build on your strengths and work on your weaknesses. Okay, like to say that? You can build on your strengths and work on your weaknesses. Thank you.
Well, we're going to do that during the workshop session tomorrow afternoon, all right? So, what's the matter?
Don't want to do it now. You've got time to think about it.
No, we're just going to let you sweat. You're going to do about this, Tone?
Yeah.
Someone said to me, and somebody usually does when we talk about these things, but I don't like being put in a box. Hands up those who don't like being put in a box.
They're going to put you in a box one day.
If
the Lord doesn't come first.
But sometimes people say that, you know, it's sort of putting you in a little restriction thing and saying, well, you're choleric, and not allowing anybody to change because they think that they're labelled and that's it. And I don't think it's a really good idea going around to other people and saying, oh, you're a sanguine or you're a choleric, because people don't really appreciate that terribly much, especially if you're saying it in a way like, oh, you're just a choleric.
You'll never get anything done. You'll never amount to anything because you're only a sanguine.
Terrible example, darling. Anyway, the thing is, don't go around labelling other people, because let them discover for themselves what they are and tell you what they are, rather than you going around and just dobbing on them. But the other thing is, we realise that you can change, and even though you might feel that you're really strongly you've got strong choleric weaknesses, there's a room there for you to work on them, as Rob said, and to strengthen those weak places. And we're not just saying that's it, that's how you are, you know. So if you're choleric, you're going to go around hurting people. That's the way it is. Cholerics have to learn that is their weakness. This is why I found that learning about the temperance was such a release to me, because I could learn, well, okay, I've got that weakness, and so do other people who are choleric, you know, that we can tend to get so goal-oriented that we forget the people on the way. And so you know that that's the thing you've got to work on. And you know that if you're a leader, that it's really important to maintain good relationships with people as you lead them, you know, at the same time as leading them, to remember that they're people. They're not just objects that you shift around on a checkerboard, you know, to achieve your goals. So you know where your areas of weakness are, and you learn to work with them. But it also helps, like, for instance, you meet somebody and you go, ooh, very artistic, are they? Very musical. Ah, probably melancholy. And then you think, be gentle with them. Very sensitive, because melancholists are very sensitive, very easily hurt often. People who are really musical or very artistic or very craft-oriented, you know, produce these beautiful jumpers like the one Heather's got on today. Now, she didn't do it, so don't be calling her a melancholy. But usually it does mean that somebody who can do something as detailed as that and produce it so perfectly is usually very highly melancholy. And so you go, hey, sensitive person who could be hurt easily, vulnerable person, don't make jokes around them that they could take personally, because melancholies take you very seriously, and you're just joking and you're going, thinking you're having a great time, and they're going, ooh, I think she meant me, you know. So that's how you learn, when you understand that those things go together, that you've got a problem. A phlegmatic, a really nice guy will suddenly come out with this really sarcastic comment, and you go, gosh, I thought he was a nice guy, but that's part of his little package, you know. So that's why I found it extremely helpful. No, you don't do it, darling. You don't do it. You've got other weaknesses.
Can I change?
Please.
Yes, of course you can. You can change. And over the years you'll find that you will change as the Holy Spirit works on you. And I put a couple more scriptures in just to make, all those spiritual people feel like it's, really down to earth and getting real. In Mark 10:27, nothing is impossible with God. We can change. And we can work, as we said, on those weaknesses. In Philippians chapter 2 and verse 13, God is all the while effectually. I like that. I really love that scripture because it's saying that God isn't just all the while at work in me, like digging you go down the beach and you dig a hole in the sand and, you're digging the sand out, but it's filling in as quickly as you're digging it out. God is all the while effectually at work in me. Would you like to say that? God is all the while effectually at work in me to bring about his good pleasure.
So, in other words, you can't say, and people tend to do this, oh, well, I forget to do things because I'm a sanguine. And that kind of excuses you and you go, oh, that's all right, she's a sanguine. And you allow that problem, that weakness.
It's an excuse.
Yeah. You just think you can get away with it. No, sanguines have to learn to get organised and get their act together and remember things. Because sanguines are, on a committee, if you've got a committee and you've got a sanguine will go, oh, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that.
Oh, that
yeah, I'll do that too. Yeah, and I'll do that. And you come back to your next committee meeting going, well, but you were going to do that. Oh,
I forgot about that.
Was I?
Your name's in the minutes.
So you learn not to delegate too much.
Who was that minute taker? All right.
Shoot the minute taker.
We've done these for quite a few years, and our youngest son did this class, and he realised that what his strengths and weaknesses were as a result of it, because we sat down and worked through the questionnaire with him, and made him do it.
It's much nicer than the first way you said it.
But we'd been doing some renovations, and Liz had been doing the painting. She loves doing painting.
I hate doing painting,
but
he hates doing painting too, so I do it.
That's the choleric coming out. So that's the advantage of having a choleric wife. See, it's too much effort.
Too much effort to get it perfect, right? So
Anyway,
Liz does the painting.
Everything was down. The carpet was down, actually the carpet hadn't been fixed, but everything was cleaned up. And Liz saw this little patch in the corner of the plaster where she'd missed it, just a bit about 5 cents. So she goes and gets the gallon can.
4 litres, darling.
Well, it was a gallon can in those days.
What's not?
No, it was 4 litres. Anyway, she went and got this big can of paint, and she opens it up and she gets up on the chair and she paints this little spot, and then as she gets down, you guess it, she puts her foot on the edge of the tin and tips it all over the carpet. There's this great big patch like this of paint on the carpet. And so, sanguines are fantastic in an emergency. They're absolute, because it's excitement. It's something different. It's a distraction from whatever they're doing at the